The phone rang at 2:17 a.m. That kind of hour doesn't bring good news. It brings endings. The room was dark, silent, heavy. The glow of my phone cut through it like a blade. I didn't even need to look at the name to know who it was. My brother never called unless something had already gone wrong. I answered. His voice was calm, too calm. No crack, no pause, no grief. Mom died last night, he said. The words landed, but they didn't sink in. Not yet. Funeral's on Friday, he continued, as if reading out a grocery list. Then he stopped for half a second, just enough to sharpen what came next. She left everything to me. You get nothing? Silence swallowed the line. I didn't ask how it happened. I didn't ask where. I didn't say her name. I just smiled. Okay, I said quietly. And before I could say anything else, the call ended. I sat there for a long time, phone still in my hand, staring at the dark screen. Anyone else would have screamed. Anyone else would have cried or begged or shouted accusations into the empty room. But me? I smiled because 3 days earlier, my mother had called me. And because my brother had no idea how wrong he was. 3 days earlier, my mother sounded tired that day, not sick tired, soul tired. Bait she said softly. Your brother was here again. I already knew what that meant. Arguments? Accusations? Raised voices carefully hidden behind closed doors. He had always been like that, loud when he wanted something, silent when he had taken it. What happened? I asked. She sighed. He wants me to sign papers? My grip tightened around the phone. What kind of papers? She didn't answer right away. When she did, her voice dropped lower. The kind that erase people. I closed my eyes. Ever since our father died, my brother had taken control of the house, the accounts, even her medicines. I lived in another city, another life. Distance had turned me into an easy target, or so he thought. Amy, I said carefully, you don't have to do anything you don't want to. She laughed a weak, knowing laugh. I know, that's why I called you. Then she said something that made my heart pound. Do you remember the blue file? My breath caught. The blue file! I hadn't heard those words in years. Yes, I said slowly. I remember. Good, she whispered. Keep remembering it. There was a pause. Then she added, if anything happens to me, that file matters more than any will. The line went quiet. Before I could ask anything else, she said, promise me you won't act too soon. I promise, I said. 3 days later, my brother called to tell me I got nothing. Friday, the funeral, the sky was gray, heavy with rain that couldn't decide whether to fall. I stood at the back of the crowd as my mother's body was carried forward. People whispered prayers. Some cried, some watched. My brother, he stood in the front row, dressed in white, surrounded by relatives and neighbors. Hands patted his back. Voices praised him. You took such good care of her. You're a strong son. She was lucky to have you. He nodded, eyes lowered, grief perfectly performed. Not once did he look back at me. Not once did he wonder why I was so calm. After the prayers, people moved toward the house. I didn't follow. Instead, I walked in the opposite direction. The locker of the bank smelled like paper and metal and silence. The locker number was still the same. Some things never change, no matter how much people try to rewrite them. When the door opened, my heart started racing. Inside was the blue file. It looked older than I remembered. The edges were worn. The color faded, but it was still there waiting. I took it out and sat down. Inside were documents layered carefully, like pieces of a puzzle meant to be solved in the right order. Bank statements, property records, medical reports with official stamps, and an at the bottom handwritten letter. My mother's handwriting. I unfolded it slowly. If you are reading this, then I am no longer here. Your brother will think he has one. Let him. There are battles. People win on paper, and battles they lose in truth. My throat tightened. Everything he forced me to sign, everything he hid, everything he lied about, it is all here. My hands trembled. Do not rush. Do not confront him yet. Let him enjoy his victory. The higher the pride, the harder the fall. A tear slipped down my cheek, but I was smiling. Why? I smiled that night. My brother thought inheritance was about names on documents. He thought ownership meant power. He thought silence meant defeat. What he didn't know was that the will he was celebrating wasn't the only one that mattered. What he didn't know was that truth leaves a trail. And what he definitely didn't know was that on Friday, after the funeral, the real story had already begun. My brother didn't wait long. 2 days after the funeral, he called a family meeting at the house, the same house where my mother had spent her last years, quietly shrinking under his shadow. I arrived late on purpose. The living room was full. Relatives, neighbors, a lawyer sitting calmly with a leather folder on his lap. My brother stood near the window, confident, relaxed, already acting like the king of a kingdom he believed was his. When I entered, He looked at me for the first time since the funeral. A slow smile spread across his face. Not a warm one. A victorious one. You came, he said. I didn't think you would. I shrugged. It's still my mother's house. A few people exchanged looks. The lawyer cleared his throat. We're here to read the will. My brother nodded. Please, let's get this over with. The words were read aloud exactly as my brother had promised. The house, the land, the accounts, all his. Nothing for me. Murmurs filled the room. Some people glanced at me with pity. Others avoided my eyes entirely, as if poverty were contagious. My brother folded his arms and leaned back, enjoying every second. When the lawyer finished, he asked, Any objections? All eyes turned to me. I smiled. No, I said calmly. No objections. My brother raised an eyebrow. See, he said to the room. Even he accepts it. The meeting ended quickly after that. People left, whispering. Some paid my shoulder. Awkwardly, others said nothing. My brother walked me to the door. You handled that well, he said. Smart move. Fighting would have just embarrassed you. I looked at him. Really looked at him? You're right, I said. This isn't a fight. His smile widened. He didn't know. He just said the most accurate thing of his life. The first crack that night. I made my first move. Not loudly. Not publicly. Taught quietly. I went through the documents in the blue file against Slally this time. Carefully. Like a surgeon. That's when I noticed it. A date didn't match. A signature appeared where it shouldn't have. One medical report caught my eye. My mother had been declared mentally unfit on a specific date. The same date one of the most important documents had been signed. That wasn't a coincidence. It was leveraged. The next morning, I visited the doctor whose name was on the report. He didn't recognize me at first. But when I showed him the copy, his face changed. This isn't my signature, he said quietly. I nodded. I know. He swallowed. Someone came to me, pressured me. I refused. Then how did this happen? I asked. He looked away. I don't know. But if this goes to court, I'll tell the truth. That was all I needed. Planting doubt the second move wasn't legal, it was social. I didn't accuse my brother. I didn't confront him. I asked questions, casually, innocently at family dinners, on phone calls, in passing conversations. Did Amy really understand what she signed? I heard the doctor wasn't even present that day. Funny how everything was transferred so fast. I never finished a sentence. I let people finish them for me. Within a week, the tone changed. Whispers replaced praise. People who once called my brother responsible now called him lucky. And luck, in our culture, always comes with suspicion. The warning he finally called me. Stop it, he said. Stop what? I asked. You'd know exactly what. I smiled. I'm just answering questions. People are curious. They're talking? He snapped. About what? He was silent about? You. I added gently. You have nothing? He said finally. No proof. No claim. I leaned back. Are you sure? The line went dead. Asterisk, the court notice arrived on a Tuesday morning. They didn't send it. That was the part that surprised him the most. Someone else had. The doctor. Apparently, guilt is heavier than fear once the silence breaks. My brother stormed into my apartment that evening. No smile this time. No calm voice. What did you do? He demanded. I didn't stand up. I didn't invite him to sit. I did nothing. I said, truth has a habit of moving on its own. You think this will work? He shouted. You think one doctor can change everything? I looked him in the eye. One truth can. Courtroom. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. No drama. No shouting. Just facts. The doctor testified. The dates were examined. The signatures were compared. Then came the letter. My mother's letter. The judge read it silently before handing it back. My brother sat frozen. For the first time in his life, he wasn't in control of the room. The judge finally spoke. There is sufficient evidence to question the validity of the will. My brother stood up. That's impossible. The judge raised a hand. Sit down. He sat. Small, quiet human. The final blow not yet outside the courtroom. Reporters gathered. Family members whispered. Phones rang. My brother avoided everyone's eyes. He walked past me without a word. I didn't stop him. Not yet. Because this wasn't the end. This was just the moment he realized. The inheritance he stole had cost him something far more valuable. Asterisk. Power doesn't disappear all at once. It cracks. Slowly. Loud enough for everyone to hear. Too late to stop. After the court questioned the will, my brother's world began to collapse. But not in the way he expected. He thought the fight was about property. He was wrong. It was about reputation. Within days, things started slipping through his fingers. The bank froze, the accounts pending investigation. The house was placed under legal review. The land transfer was suspended. But worse than paperwork were the people. Friends stopped calling. Relatives stopped visiting. The same neighbors who once praised him now avoided eye contact, and whispers turned into statements. He pressured her. She was sick. How could he do that to his own mother? Every word was a crack. The mask comes off one evening. He showed up at my door again. This time he didn't shout. He looked tired. Let's settle this, he said quietly. I crossed my arms. Settle? What? This mess? He replied. We can split things. 50-50. No more courts. No more drama. I studied his face. For the first time, he wasn't offering power. He was asking for mercy. You didn't offer me 50%, I said. You offered me nothing. That was business, he snapped, then stopped himself. Softer now. This is family. I laughed. Do you remember that word very late? He clenched his jaw. What do you want? I looked at him steadily. The truth, I said, publicly. His eyes widened. You want to humiliate me? I shook my head. You already did that yourself? The second letter, a week later, I submitted something to the court that my brother didn't know existed. Another letter. This one wasn't emotional. It was precise. My mother had written it after being forced to sign the will. It named names. It listed dates. It described pressure, manipulation, threats of abandonment. The judge read it carefully. The room felt heavier with every line. My brother's lawyer tried to object. The judge silenced him. This court will not ignore coercion, the judge said, especially when the victim is no longer alive to speak. That sentence hit harder than any verdict. Because now, my mother was speaking through paper, through truth. The collapse, the final hearing, was brief. The will was declared invalid. All assets were frozen pending redistribution under legal inheritance law. But the court didn't stop there. An investigation was ordered into forgery and elder abuse. My brother's face strained of color. This wasn't about losing money anymore. This was about losing everything. As he walked out, people didn't whisper. They stared. Months passed. The case concluded quietly. Legally, the assets were divided fairly. The house was sold. The land redistributed. The money split. I got my share. But that wasn't the victory. My brother lost something he could never reclaim. Just no one defended him. No one stood by him. Even those who benefited from his generosity kept their distance. Because once truth exposes you, people see you forever. The last conversation, he called me one last time. Not angry. Not proud. Empty. I didn't think you'd go this far, he said. I didn't go far, I replied. I stood still. Truth did the walking. There was a pause. She trusted you more, he said bitterly. I closed my eyes. She trusted honesty. I corrected. You just weren't part of it. He didn't reply. The call ended. The blue file won. Last time I opened the blue file again. This time, I removed only one thing. My mother's first letter. I folded it carefully and placed it somewhere. Safe. The rest I let go. Because revenge wasn't the inheritance. The closure was the smile. Explained people later asked me. How did you stay so calm when he said, you got nothing? I never explained. But here's the truth. When someone celebrates too early, it's because they don't know the whole story. And when someone smiles at loss, it's usually because they already won. The end.